the area having showery conditions.
That is just beautiful, honestly, nostalgia.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you so much for gracing our screen once more. And how does it feel? You know, you left 2004. How does it feel to be on the screen again?
Well, first of all, Catherine, I'm very, very humbled to be back to the studio, and particularly in KBC, because I believe this is my home area. First of all, I can see quite a number of changes, okay, in the studio, and virtually even the technology itself
has
changed. Okay, I can see also quite a number of decor, and this is really beautiful.
Thank you for the compliments. Please, this is your home, it's my home also, so please have a seat.
Okay, thank you, Catherine.
Thank you. So Ngwata, who is Ngwata Francis?
Ngwata Francis is just a small young man who was born and brought up in Nairobi, was schooled in Nairobi, went to the university here in Nairobi, and employed by the Kenya Meteorological Department way back in 1984.
Oh, wonderful.
Okay?
Yes.
And I retired around 3 years back, around 2019. So in between, there are quite a number of things that have happened, which I think right now, maybe time may not allow, because I started off as a bachelor, I became a family man, and now here I am, an old man.
Now, talking about God, you know, we are seeing quite a number of instances, phenomena, you know, taking place all over the world. You know, we'll talk about Kenya later, but let's just touch on what's happening all over the world. We have eruptions, volcanic eruptions. We have earthquakes happening almost simultaneously. We have rain, and rain in places where they're supposed to be having summer, because the northern hemisphere is supposed to be experiencing summer. And right now they have rains, you know, golf balls, you know, what do you call it, hailstones, the size of a golf ball. What is happening?
There are quite a number of things that, you know, have emerged and evolved over time. And unfortunately, as the population continue to explode everywhere, okay, people have also continued defiling the environment, okay? Whereas, you know, there are some phenomena that we cannot do anything. Even some of these big nations, okay? There isn't much that they can do, but God has got the final say. Because like now, when it comes to hurricanes, cyclones, okay, there is no nation that can stop them.
No. Many times you did give the weather forecast, and many times it was not correct. What happens in those instances? Because you would say that, you know, some territories are going to receive some rains, you know, rains, showers, thunderstorms and things, and then it goes to the next district. It doesn't rain where you actually predicted it to, I mean, where you forecasted it would rain.
Bottom line, as I said, the more data that you have, the better. The more well you explain to your doctor how you are feeling, the better way of treating you. Now, unfortunately for us, or for the department, is that if you have got very dense network of those observation platforms, okay, then you can give a better forecast. Those days, okay, you will find there are some countries, okay, because weather, and you know, weather has got no boundary, and there's no way, Catherine, that you'll deviate from those technological advances. Because if you are left, okay, first of all, as I know, is that there's no plane that can leave the country or come to the country, okay, without the weather data.
That is true. What is the most common element in weather forecasting?
First of all, temperature. Okay. Temperature. Pressure. Pressure is very, very important. Okay. Let's say there's nothing that you can say is important than the other. Okay. Just like now your body. Okay. Your hand cannot say I'm very important than the leg. Okay? The nose cannot say that I'm very important than the stomach. So you find that, you know, each and every element, okay, is as important as the other, depending on what you want to come out.
Let's talk about acid rain. We see this quite a lot in developed countries. We are seeing it in some parts of Africa. What do you have to say about that?
First of all, how it is made in the atmosphere, okay? you've got a nuclei. A nuclei is that something that is in the middle,
yes,
where the water vapor attaches itself. Now this nuclei, okay, it will amaze you.
Yes.
What is it? It can be smoke.
Yes.
It can be pollen. It can be dust.
Yes.
Okay. Are you see?
Yes.
It can be chemicals.
Yes.
Okay.
One last question. 2019, we had some unseasonal rainfall, and we were being told that it came from the Indian Ocean because temperatures were rising, and this moisture came in hinterland.
Yes.
And of course, condensation process, we had rains. Please just, expound on
this. The rain, particularly in our region, is quite interesting. The way we get it. Okay.
Yes.
And there are quite a number of factors.
Yes.
Okay. Sometimes we talk about intertropical convergence zone, the area that winds are converging. Okay. Sometimes we talk about cyclones. In this part of the world, we call the cyclones in the Indian Ocean, or that low pressure cyclonic. But cyclone, and in America we call it hurricane.
Yes,
hurricane.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
So depending on where the track of this cyclone is, okay, it can hit us or not hit us.
Okay.
Around that time you are talking about, now it was very conducive. Okay. It hit us. Okay.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so very much. This is a very big subject. We will actually take like 2 days just analyzing weather forecast. Oh my goodness, viewers, I am so sorry we have to go. This has been Ngwata Francis on Legends Edition. My name is Catherine Kasavuli. I feel so honored to have hosted you on this show, and thank you so much for coming. So we'll be having another guest next week, and we want you to tell us who you would want us to feature on the Legends Edition next week. Initially, we sat on crates, carton boxes, yes, and typed on typewriters, Olivetti, what we were using in the government. We had just started, but there was a racket on the 21st floor, Nyayo House. We were on the 20th floor. So we didn't realize that one of our studio lights had actually gone loose, and one nut had actually fallen and gone under the table. So I'm there, I'm reading news, and this guy starts banging up there. Didn't the light fall on my head? I stood up. I just stood up and looked at the light. And the camera is still on me. There are things we've been through. You say, if you did not love broadcasting, sincerely, I don't think you'd still be there. This is the Legends Edition, and our living legend tonight is Ambassador Francis Muthaura. He is a career diplomat. He is also a career civil servant. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome this wonderful son of the nation, a great man of valor, Ambassador Francis Muthaura.
Yeah, thank you, Catherine, for those a bit flattering words. But I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome. You deserve all the accolades we can give you. You've been giving people, commendations and things like that. But it's time for you also to receive some, some ululation and accolades.
Thank you.
You were Ambassador Francis Muthaura, great diplomat, respected all over the world and also in the European Union. Let's first start at home. You were the first Secretary General to the East African Community.
Yes.
Please walk us through that.
Well, I was appointed, first of all, as an first executive secretary of the East African Community. And it's after we formulated the treaty.
Yes.
After the completion and the adoption of the treaty, that my status changed to one of Secretary General of the East African Community.
Okay.
Yes, and I was there for a 5-year fixed contract.
Yes.
And I got that appointed by the 3 heads of state, ambassador, His Excellency President Mkapa of Tanzania.
Yes.
His Excellency President Museveni.
Yes, of Uganda.
Of Uganda, and His Excellency President Moi of Kenya. He's the one who proposed to me.
Wonderful.
I was his ambassador to the United Nations.
Wow.
And that's where I was called from.
Okay.
To come and head the East African community.
Okay.
You remember there was a bit of an issue there.
Yes.
Because the first appointee was Professor Mbidi, who was the head of public service.
Yes.
But he declined.
Yes.
Taking over the job. And then I was invited. Me, I took it with a lot of excitement.
Wonderful.
Because I thought it was an extremely important responsibility.
Yes.
To restart the East African community.
Yes.
After it had died for about 20 years.
Yes. 1977. That's
77.
When yes, that's when.
And the appointment was 1996. It was 20 years literally.
Wow.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
Now, of the things that you proposed while Secretary General of East African Community, can you say you have achieved some milestones?
Well, I think it's a lot that has been achieved. What you should recall is in 1996, Kenyan border with Tanzania and just been reopened.
Yes.
Our border with Tanzania was closed for 20 years after the collapse of the first East African community.
Yes.
So we had no trade between us and Tanzania.
Yes.
And you know now there is a big trade.
Yes.
Both ways.
It is true.
Between Kenya and Tanzania. That's a major achievement.
It is.
Also, our trade with Uganda was just minimal. Because Uganda had been under the regime of the former, dictator Idi Amin.
Idi Amin for
so the economy of Uganda literally had collapsed.
Yes.
President Museveni had started reviving it, but the trade really was very limited.
Yes.
Our biggest trade partner in East Africa was Rwanda. But then it also was destroyed by the
genocide.
So the East African situation was very bad.
Yes.
Burundi also was in a very bad state. Tension.
Yes.
After the genocide, it also almost went through a similar experience.
Yes.
Coups. Yes. So it was a very difficult time.
For East Africa.
For East Africa. Kenya economy was also doing not very well.
Yes.
Because all the infrastructures that were in the community, regional infrastructure, like the railways, and almost, after they split, even the Kenya railways was not doing very well.
That's true.
Tanzania railways was almost kaput. Uganda, there was nothing to talk about at that time. So it was a very challenging period.
It is true.
The post and the communications and also split. And so they were trying to find their bearing. And so it was a very difficult period.
Yes.
And at that time, around 96, you remember there was a lot of the new democratization of Africa.
Yes.
So a lot of African countries were unstable.
Yes.
Especially those which had been ruled by the militaries. Most of African countries were under the military rule.
It is true.
Except just a few.
Yes.
From Southern Africa, Kenya. Just very few. And perhaps Ivory Coast in West Africa.
Yes.
And Senegal.
Yes.
All the others
were
military and in a very bad state. So it was, but there was one positive thing that was happening.
Yes.
The European community was really expanding and entrenching itself. They were actually creating, they had already come up with the single market, single European market treaty. And that also started now becoming like an example for other regions. So there was a lot of movement now towards regional blocks.
Wonderful.
America was trying to create the free trade area with Canada and Mexico.
Yes.
And then in the southeast, the Asian countries, and they also created their own. Yeah. And the Arab countries were also trying to create. Latin American countries were also trying to create. Yeah. So when we started the community, group environment was very positive.
Wonderful. Now,
for regionalization.
Hold that thought.
Yes.
I want to talk about your mission in Belgium.
Yes.
You were Kenya's High Commissioner or Ambassador?
Ambassador.
In Belgium.
To the European Union.
Yes.
To Belgium. Yes. And to Luxembourg.
Wonderful.
Yes.
So your involvement with the European Union.
Yes.
Did that have any bearing on your being appointed East African Secretary General?
Because of I served a total of 10 years.
Yes.
In Brussels. Yes. First of all as a first secretary.
Yes.
And then another 5 years as an ambassador. So I saw the European the evolution of the European Union. From the European economic community to a European Union. They went through single market and then European. Those phases, I saw them take place and what involved in terms of negotiations and the structures that propelled that process. So I thought I developed some very special expertise for that privilege of serving that mission all that time. And then at the same time, we were also accredited to the ACP group of countries. ACP is African, Caribbean, and the Pacific group of countries who are based in Brussels, and an agreement, what we are calling Georgetown Agreement, that brought these countries into partnership, into cooperation agreement with the European community.
We were involved in LAPSET. This is, affecting Ethiopia and our trade with them, our relationship with them.
Yes.
Can you just,
LAPSET was one of the key infrastructure projects which was to be implemented under the Vision 2030. And the LAPSET, was intended, first of all, to give Kenya a second seaport. Because when you have one seaport, you are vulnerable. Yes. If anything happening, you are in trouble. So we needed to have a second seaport. Even if there is war, they go to bomb the port, or they blow the roads connecting the port and the hinterland. So if you have only one port, you have a problem. Then that's how we came up with the Lamu port as a second alternative port. The other thing is that Kenya is strategically placed to be an hinterland. A country, a transit country for the goods moving into the Central Africa, part of the country, the landlocked.
Yes.
So we thought that port would now be able to lessen pressure on Mombasa port, so that we have two competing ports. And then, since it's in the north, it would open northern part of the country. As the Mombasa, Nairobi, Busia, Kampala road opened the southern part of the country, now Lamu, Isiolo to Ethiopia and South Sudan would open also the northern part of the country.
Yes, that's true.
The other thing is not just a road, it was combined a road, a highway, railway, pipeline, and also it would bring in other elements like the airports.
Airports, yes.
The airports, Isiolo, Lamu, and also Lake Turkana.
Yes.
And further north to places like Moyale.
Now we want to switch on to something that has just happened recently. You have shocked the entire country. You have surpassed your own performance. This is Kenya Revenue Authority, of which you are the chairman.
Yes.
Under your stewardship, we have seen tremendous growth.
Yes.
How did you achieve this? 1 trillion, it is amazing. 101
1.6 I mean, it's a big achievement for we have very good KRI staff, extremely competent people, and we have been recruiting people very competitively to lead the KRI without any external influence. Incidentally, the top, apart from the CEO, the top 2 officers who are responsible for collection of, they are women.
Yes.
The Commissioner for Domestic Taxes, that's the one who collects most of the taxes. Commissioner for, for Customs, that's the second, is also a lady. So you can see we are very, very liberal in the KRI. And then we have a very good board, very professional board, which is very independent and not influenced by anybody. And for us, we don't want to let down the appointing authority, who is our president, and give us clear instructions on appointment that. We need to have enough revenue to manage the ambitious program, economic program, and infrastructural programs that is funding. So we work like a team, both the management, the board, and even the minister. Minister of Finance is really very supportive. The Minister of Finance, whenever we have resource problems, is very responsive, and we are very grateful for that.
Ambassador, oh my goodness, you have so much to share with Kenyans.
Yes.
Time is not on our side, but we are so privileged to have you, and we pray that you will come back again, to just walk us through a few things we need to understand about the nation and also appreciate about our nation. Thank you so much for gracing.
I appreciate
for gracing the Living Legends.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for spending time with us on the Living Legends. Ladies and gentlemen, we were hosting our one and only Ambassador Francis Muthaura, who has been a great career diplomat, who has also been a great career civil servant, steering the nation in the way that it should go. He's a great man of valor. That's what I call him. I know quite a number of you call him that. Very humble, down to earth, but oh my, he moves mountains. He is a mover and a shaker. Thank you so much for being with us on this show. And, well, next is sports news.
With only 25% ownership of the bank, Ian Rayner, the managing director of the bank, talks on the issue.
Catherine, do you remember that particular day? First of all, you looked stunning. I mean, do you remember that day or, those days? And even thinking about it right now, what kind of emotions does it bring?
Oh, well, I'm gratified. I'm gratified that, I've walked through quite a number of challenges, a lot of victories, and here I am today, on the other side of the fence.
That must be very weird.
No, it isn't. It's rewarding to actually see that your work has been, has been appreciated over the years, and watching it now, I actually appreciate I was good.
You were good.
Yes.
I love that, the confidence. She was good, and of course you still are. And I just want to know, looking at that clip, I mean, there's so many differences, there's so much growth, so to speak. From your perspective, how can you describe the growth that is the Kenyan media industry right now?
Oh, there's a lot of growth. Oh my goodness, there's quite a lot of growth. First of all, just the IT part of it has really expanded and really helped the media industry, to now compete on the international arena, on the international platform. A lot also has gone into the personalities, the celebrities, And then also a lot has gone into the administration. Basically, the companies have now, we have more broadcasting houses. Then, when I read that story, I think that was in 1992, because we're talking about Trade Bank.
Yes.
That was way back in 1992, and KTN was the only commercial television station, the first private television station in East and Central Africa, because every country had a national broadcaster. So KTN really was one of the greatest pioneers in East and Central Africa.
All right.
Yes.
And looking at that clip, what, in terms of equipment, you know, I remember there's a story you were giving that one day you were reading the news and you were literally sitting on crates.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, no, I wasn't not in the studio. The studio was well furnished. You know, there was a beautiful table, and of course my wonderful seat and everything. But in some offices, in the newsroom, you know, we had, you know, it was just so quick. Everything happened so quickly. The liberalization of the airwaves. And, you know, I think there was a lot of planning yet to be done, but we grew with time. And it was exciting. It was wonderful just seeing that growth.
All right. And I mean, looking at that at that time, does it ever, what was like your most memorable experience when you were starting out? Oh,
when we were starting out, well, first I've talked about the bulletin issue. That just shook me. I just couldn't believe that anybody would record a news bulletin and call it a bulletin and call it news. It just doesn't, you know, it's never handled that way. That was one of the things. The other thing that was remarkable while I was at KTN was the grand visit by Senator Barack Obama then, who is now the President of the United States of America. I remember I was in charge of protocol then and also senior news anchor, and I was charged with the responsibility of coordinating his visit, and I had to work very closely with the Deputy Chairman, the CEO and a few other people, and the American Embassy. We actually had to close off Kenyatta Avenue for this grandiose visit, you know, by this wonderful gentleman. It was a remarkable moment for me.
All right.
Yes.
I can imagine that. What about those, you know, in studio, you always have those one-off days that, you know, everything does not seem to work. Did you have any challenges in terms of, you know, being in studio and everything? I remember a story that you were talking about. You were reading the news and something happened to the light. Tell us about that.
Well, we just didn't realize that a screw had gone loose, a nut had gone loose, and the light just, you know, somebody was banging on the top floor, and of course, you know, it just got you know, it started dangling and it started swaying. I could actually hear it swaying.
And you're reading the news.
I couldn't stop. I had to read the news. And those days, you know, we had very few cameramen, you know, so most of the stories were reader stories, and it was it was lunchtime.
So you're on air
I'm on
for a long
air.
time.
Yes, for a long time. So you cannot move, you can't run away. You just said the light fell, hit my head. I winced, of course, stood. But I had to go, I had to sit. You're a news anchor. It's an essential service.
Exactly.
There's nothing, you know. I mean, if the world stops, you're the one who's going to tell people the world has stopped. So you're not going anywhere. You will sit there until everything is over, until the editor-in-chief or the managing director or whoever is in charge of the bulletin or the news director actually tells you, okay, that's a wrap, we're off now.
That's the time you're off the hook.
That's the time you're off the hook.
Let's talk about family, because in this industry it's very hard to juggle. It can be hard to juggle between you know, being a mom and being a career woman who's successful. Take us through that. How was it getting your son? You're in this very, very hectic industry. How are you able to balance that?
It was quite a challenge. It was quite a challenge. I was single most of the part, and it wasn't very, very easy. But my son was a wonderful child. You know, he was just fun to be with. So I remember one time I actually had to carry him to the office.
What?
Yes.
Okay.
And he sat with me in the radio studio. That time I was working for Voice of Kenya. And I was a continuity announcer, a newsreader on radio. And I had to take my 1-year-old son to the office.
Wow.
And I told him to sit down and shush, keep quiet, because I did not have, my maid. I think she was expecting, so she had to go and give birth, and that was like, I think it was a premature.
Wow.
So it was so unexpected.
Right.
So I had to really, that was very challenging. So some friends came and helped me, look after him. They heard that I had come with this lovely little boy.
1-year-old boy.
1-year-old.
Wow.
But he was wonderful. Whenever I told him, please be quiet, the microphone is about to go on, he just looked at me and wondered what that was. So later on I would explain to him.
What was happening?
Oh, mommy, I hear you, lady.
There you go. You're a very handsome son, I must say.
Yes, yes.
His name is Martin?
Yes, Martin.
Martin
is a wonderful young gentleman. Yes.
So we not know a lot about him. Actually, I think that's your mom?
Yes, that's my mother. She's called Rachel. And she just celebrated her 80th birthday.
Wow.
We had brought her to Nairobi and we had taken her for dinner at the junction. Oh, she was excited.
I can imagine.
She was very, very happy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I know you've spoken a lot about your parents, that they played a big role.
Yes, they did.
When you're joining this very big industry.
Yes.
Maybe you can talk to us about that.
Well, they did. They played a major role in that, they always try to inculcate, great values into me and my siblings, my late brother and my 4 sisters. We were brought up by a senior civil servant, who went to school those days, the colonial days and everything, and all that. Discipline was very, very important. Integrity was very, very important. Respect for people was also something that we really, and we respect ourselves, the family. We are a very close family, and we support each other and we have each other's back.
I like that.
Yes.
And coming to what you do right now, what are you up to? We do not see you on air. What are you working? I'm sure you're working on something. Tell us about that.
I am working on something, and in fact I even mentioned to you, I said, oh my goodness, I really don't know if I really want to discuss that here. I am yet to unveil, but I am the founder of Kasavuli Media Group Limited, which is the parent company of 5 subsidiaries. There's a finishing school for broadcasters, which is, an area I really hold very, very dear. And then there's an arm that takes care of etiquette. This one is open to, people across the divide, not necessarily news anchors, because the finishing school for broadcasters just focuses on news anchors, fine-tuning you, trying to make you a better news anchor, a relevant one, and one who is, consistent and also with staying power, because in the industry, staying power is something that we have lacked for a long time, and it's something that I enjoy sharing.
All right. Is that a way of you giving back? Because we asked a couple of our viewers actually, and they sent a couple of questions, and most of them were, how are you able to impart the knowledge you have to the younger generation, young ladies who want to be like you? So that's your one way of giving back?
Well, that's one way of giving back to society, but that's also me. It's just me. I just, if I notice that you have a challenge, honestly, I won't hesitate, to pull you aside and mention to you that, oh, this is how we pronounce this, this is how you say this. And depending on my relationship with you, I would share on a few things based on your color, your height, what you should wear, and when you should wear it. So, you know, that's basically what I would like. It's giving back to society, really. Because now that I am on this other side of the screen, I'm watching the news, and surely I know what quality is. So I would love to see that quality there. So if I can, I help.
You help.
Yes.
And what do you do when you're not doing all these great things? What do you do for fun? Do you golf, or do you...
I love traveling. I love traveling. I love reading. I cook.
You do?
Oh, gourmet.
Really?
Ooh,
What food can you cook perfectly?
Perfectly. Indigenous food, exotic food, continental dishes.
Oh, really?
Everything. West African dishes. I can cook anything, yes.
So cooking, traveling.
My best is a Hungarian goulash. Oh, that
What is that?
Well, it's just beef, very nicely done with black pepper and very nice, you know, beef stock and onions, tomatoes, garlic, lots of nice spices. And that's basically it, and some turmeric.
All right. So you're about to hand things over to our business anchor, Abi Agina, but before then, I want to know, what is it that you use on your skin? Because your skin, actually it's one of the questions that many ladies were asking. How have you been able to remain so youthful?
Positive thinking. One, truly speaking, positive thinking keeps you young. I always believe in a laugh a day, you know. If I cannot find something to laugh, if nothing makes me laugh, I will remember something that made me laugh.
Yesterday.
Exactly. It's a good tonic, you know. It really is, but just don't laugh alone. Call a friend. And
laugh together. All right, I like that.
Yeah.
So we'll get to know a lot about, you know, Catherine, and of course I'm going to go sample a bit of the questions that you've sent in. But for now, Catherine, I want you to look into camera 2 and hand things over to our
that one.
Business anchor, Abi Agina. I know this sounds very familiar.
The business anchor?
Yes.
Okay.
Abi Agina.
Okay. We've just been talking to Betty, and we're now handing over to our business segment. Stay with us. This is KTN Prime.
Hi there, Catherine.
Hi, how are you?
Very fine indeed. It's actually an honor to actually get to be with you on air. You're one of the people that I actually looked up to when I was growing up, and I just have one question for you.
Yes.
For upcoming journalists like us, what would be your biggest message, noting that this career, it's all about remaining relevant and also avoiding to be perishable?
Well, one thing I would say is integrity. That's one thing that we really must all have, you know, and embrace. Another thing is, don't oversaturate yourself. Okay? And the last thing is, you know, believe in yourself, believe in what you can do, and work on yourself.
Wow, very interesting there. Well, we have quite a lot lined up for you on business, coming more after the break.
My son was still very young. He'd just been born in 1981, and he was just 2 days shy of celebrating his first birthday, and the coup happened. So I was still breastfeeding. So I had to go to work. I was picked in a Land Rover. So you're not comfortable, but this is an essential service. That's when I really began to appreciate broadcasting, and I just said, no, I think this is where I need to be.
Hassan Martin was here to cheer his mum on.
I'm so grateful to have a mother like her. We get along so well. We disagree so well as well. No, we disagree so well. Today I told her, look here, I'm not a government driver who just sleeps in the car waiting for you. You know? She kept me in the office for a whole hour. A whole hour I fell asleep.
With her stunning looks and impeccable style, it is no wonder that Kasavuli has managed to keep viewers glued to the screen, and her tips on looking and feeling good.
It really is just a positive attitude, how you feel about yourself, what you think, what you feed yourself, not only nutritionally, but also psychologically. And, you know, what you read, what you allow yourself to watch, these things all, you know, determine what you will be tomorrow. What you ingest is what actually comes out.
Born and raised in Nairobi, Kasavuli speaks highly of her parents and the values they instilled in her.
Of course, I was born and brought up in Nairobi West. These were civil servants' houses, you know, very interesting in a very enclosed kind of area. My father and mother being good role models.
Kasavuli first appeared on Kenyan screens at a time when the country had only one broadcasting station, the state-run Voice of Kenya.
My son was still very young. He'd just been born in 1981, and he was just 2 days shy of celebrating his first birthday, and the coup happened. So I was still breastfeeding. So I had to go to work. I was picked in a Land Rover. So you're not comfortable, but this is an essential service. That's when I really began to appreciate broadcasting, and I just said, no, I think this is where I need to be.
When KTN first went on air in March 1990, Kasavuli was part of the team that saw the country's first privately owned station broadcast 24 hours a day. She was instrumental in changing the station's news from a pre-recorded format to a live broadcast, and was the first anchor to ever host a live broadcast at the station.
Initially, we sat on crates, you know, carton boxes, yes, and typed on typewriters, you know, Olivetti, what we were using in the government. We had just started, but there was a racket on the 21st floor, you know, Nyayo House. We were on the 20th floor. So we didn't realize that one of our studio lights had actually gone loose, and one nut had actually fallen and gone under the table. So I'm there, I'm reading news, and this guy starts banging up there. Didn't the light fall on my head? I stood up. I just stood up and looked at the light. And the camera is still on me. You know, there are things we've been through. You say, if you did not love broadcasting, sincerely, I don't think you'd still be there.
At the time, the seasoned news anchor played a big role in discovering talented reporters and news anchors, and has continued to do so at Royal Media Services, where she also doubles up as Group Corporate Affairs Manager.
Thank you for joining us. Good evening. And from Kenya or wherever else you are watching us, Royal Media Services is a wonderful experience, and it really is an amazing place. I joined Royal Media Services in 2007, and I've never looked back since.
The mother of one has received numerous awards for her role in the media, but one particular accolade she is extremely proud of is the Order of the Grand Warrior of Kenya, which she received from President Mwai Kibaki 4 years ago.
My thoughts were, how did they come up with this? And why me? Then I thought and I said, my goodness, somebody has been watching me all my career life. So that's why I say whatever you do today, please know it will reflect tomorrow.
But her celebrity status has not been without its unique challenges.
My son was in school. This was primary school. I don't know whether it was in standard 3 or 4. And somebody had said something that was not very nice about his mother, and it was not true. You know, how many children go to school with politicians' children? There are many. What do they hear in school? I think we have to stop. It's time people began to focus on themselves.
And on her engaging presence on the screen and commitment?
We are all number one. Yes. I think we are all number one. It's just a matter of, you know, what do you think about yourself?
I ask her how she has remained grounded over the years and kept focused in an industry where longevity and consistency is a rare feat, more so for news presenters.
In order to move several steps, you need to be humble. In order to make it up the ladder, whatever ladder it is, you need to be humble.
She has inspired generations of news anchors and more so women, and is still raring to take on the media industry. Kasavuli is a trailblazer, an icon and a much celebrated news anchor.
A woman is an interesting person because she encompasses quite a number of things. She is part of the foundation of your life as a little toddler. So we are very happy today to observe the International Women's Day. My name is Kasavuli, and I wish every woman a very wonderful International Women's Day. Just being 50 is so good. It's really, really wonderful. Many people feel that they have hit a moment where they think that, it's a crisis moment. It is not. If anything, if they look very, very closely, a lot of good things begin to happen to their lives at the time they get to 50.
My mother is 50. My mother is 50. But she looks so fit. I'm so grateful to have a mother like her. We get along so well. We disagree so well as well. We disagree so well. Today I told her, look here, I'm not a government driver who just sleeps in the car waiting for you. She kept me in the office for a whole hour. A whole hour I fell asleep.
Siku moja tulitoka Shirega, kweli tulikuwa tunaenda Tanganyika. Tulipofika Kadimongochi, pesa nunua Kapukocho Tanganyika. Tulipofika Kadimongochi, pesa nunua Kapukocho Tanganyika. Baewa penjai godono Baba, Baba, Godono Dongo, Gitoero, Odomo in Kanya, what he wanted. Baba, Baba, Godono Dongo, Gitoero, Odomo in Kanya, what he wanted. Wekano, thank you. Utimo, Catherine Kasavuli, in Kanya, what he wanted. Utimo, Topilia Mira. In Kanya wargi wata yakala Utimo swale mudai In Kanya wargi wata yakala Utimo Kasavuli kathi In Kanya wargi wata yakala Emomi apakinia Basbe ya nikonya uskipna Nale kaplono kaleniyo Emomi awenimia Basbe ya nikonya uskipna Dalewe papunono kaleniyo Jano
Kazav.